Welcome, Eastern Oregon, and anybody else watching around the, well, I guess world, it could be. Keeping it clear with Cody, Bowen. I'm Dodsey. This is just a transparency show that the sheriff of Union County, Cody Bowen, and myself do once a month. Although we didn't do one last month because we had a little special ride-along thing that I did with Loveland Safe Ride, which is the sponsor of this show. And Loveland Safe Ride, man, it's such a great program. Kevin Loveland and his team, Beeve, all of his drivers, they go to events around the county throughout the year where alcohol is being consumed, and they give people rides home. And it's an amazing thing. Let me introduce you the Sheriff of Union County, Cody Bowen. Cody, what's up?
Hello again. Nice to be here.
Yeah. How you been?
The snow. Man, I'm tired of the snow.
I hate it.
It's depressing at this point.
Yeah, I hate it. And we're far away from being done with it.
Yes, we are.
We're not even close.
Yeah. Yeah, shout out to Loveland's. Thank you for sponsoring this. No DUIs that I know of on New Year's Eve.
Zero.
Yeah.
Zero. That's huge.
That only happens because of that program, I guarantee it.
Me and the Beeve almost hit a deer, though. It was like a 6-incher, and we were in that Wagoneer, that top-notch,
Brand new one, shiny.
Dude, that thing was a sweet ride. And hey, thank you to all the car dealerships around, Legacy Dodge, Legacy Ford, other guys, Goss. They all donate the vehicles for Loveland Safe Ride. And man, without that, I mean, it doesn't happen. And that ride we were in from Legacy Ford, that thing was sweet.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a good night. I had fun. I mean,
it looked like it was fun.
Dude, it's one of those things where like I just kind of went with the flow. You know, I didn't know what was going to happen, and man, yeah.
I've heard some stories. Yeah.
It was. I mean, a lot of the stuff had to get cut out of the final video, but it's here.
Yeah, forever.
Right. So what's new with you? What's new with the Union County Sheriff's Office?
Oh, not much, man. We're just still plugging along, trying to keep a thumb on the crime and addiction and homelessness and everything going on in our county. You know, it's as most people know, it's a daily struggle, and trying to stay on top of it and stay positive and keep moving forward and doing good things for the community. Though we recently received a couple of new vehicles, which the idea behind that was. It was a tough decision to make, but we were having a hard time finding Tahoes, which is the best vehicle for us in the county. So we ordered a couple of Chevy pickups, and then those got here, and they're diesels, and I didn't want the guys driving diesels, so we put those into admin fleet, and then we took that Chevy pickup that I was driving, that 3/4 ton gas, 4-door silver one, and that's actually getting decaled today. It's getting stickers on it, and that'll be rolling around. One of the sergeants is going to be operating those, and then we took another vehicle that was in service, and so basically we replaced a couple older vehicles. Got some I don't want to say unsafe, but we got some safer vehicles on the road right now, and yeah, we've got 3 more that are getting upfitted, and then we'll have those in the fleet here pretty soon too. So I'm excited about that.
Sweet. For everybody watching, remember, this is a transparency show where you get to ask the questions. So go ahead and fire off questions, and I'll ask Cody. The biggest thing that you can do for us as well is like and share this. Get the word out so people are watching and asking questions. This is the first show we've done in studio in a few months, though, because the last show before that was in your truck.
It was. Yeah.
And we're gonna redo that show because I need some action, dude.
Yeah,
I'm an action dude.
Yeah, we're gonna have to go out later on a different night.
Yeah, like on a Friday or a Saturday.
Yeah,
that'd be fun.
It would be a good time. I miss doing that.
So we are gonna have a guest here in a few moments. Nick Vora, the Emergency Services Manager.
Union County Emergency Services Manager.
And he's also the boss of the SAR team for
Search and Rescue Coordinator for us. Yeah.
Very cool. We'll have him come on in just a few minutes. Cody, what's the biggest challenge right now at the Sheriff's Office? What are you facing?
Well, as it has been for the last, since I took office and even the previous administration, we're trying hard to get awareness out as far as our facility, trying to figure out how we're going to go forward with, a new law enforcement center or refurbishing the one that we have. I recently got approval as of a couple days ago to use some funding through the county, partnership with Travis Miller at Parole and Probation. They've committed some funds to it to help us get the initial ball rolling. And basically what's going to happen is that the outfit's going to come in and they're going to assess our current facility. They're going to look at everything from plumbing and wiring to the layout, the floor plan, and find out exactly, is this someplace that we can stay? Is this someplace that can be upfitted and renovated so we have enough room so it can be safe for the inmates, for the employees? And then once I have that information, we'll go from there. So I don't know if it'll be a new facility off-site, years down the road when we finally acquire the total funding for it, or if it will be something in-house that we make the current footprint more usable and more user-friendly. Safety is a big thing, though. Our jail right now takes a staffing of 4 people to run it, and it runs 24 hours, 7 days a week. And there's times that we'll have 2 employees in there trying to do things and asking for help, and it's just kind of a nightmare as far as layout wise go. Ideally, if we had a newer facility, we could operate that facility safely off of 2 deputies on, which would be huge. Safety for the inmates, safety for the people that are back there, safety for the employees. So I'm excited about that. Yeah,
well, and
moving forward,
as everybody that's watching probably already knows, the jail needs an upgrade. I mean, at the very least, we've shown pictures right here on this show of the conditions inside there, and it's not ideal.
No, by far. And for that matter, if there's anybody that's interested, the doors are always open. Well, I should say the jail doors are always open. But,
come on in.
But if anybody's interested in coming up and taking a tour of the facility, just contact the office, and we'll be more than happy to take you through the jail, show you around, give you a firsthand look of exactly what we're talking about. Because I can talk about it all day long, but until you visualize it and see the actual problems or just the overall facility of it. And the county's done a good job of maintaining this facility. It's just old. It was designed in a different time, a different era when jailing was a whole different beast. And now it's come leaps and bounds as far as what it can be, what it needs to be, and where we are right now. We're pretty far subpar. So.
Right.
Yeah, but the doors are always open. When it comes to the new facility, of course, I really want to invite members of the public to come be a part of that, from start to finish. Somebody that's not in law enforcement, somebody that, even folks that in the social media world, that don't agree with stuff that I've said or don't, say that. I invite anybody that's got different train of thought or mentality. If you'd like to be a part of this, from start to finish, please contact me, and I'd love to have you on board as far as a panel or a committee that really takes a look at everything that we're doing, from the inside out, and wants to be a part of the decision-making process or what different ideas.
Right.
I think of people in the community that have different ideas to me and share those ideas with me, and I would love to have you be a part of it. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Mayor Rock says, good evening, gentlemen. Keeping it clear with Cody Bowen, brought to you by Loveland Safe Ride. We'll be back just after this break with Nick Vora, Union County Emergency Services Manager and SAR Coordinator for Union County.
Nailed it.
Watching. Welcome back. Keeping it clear with Cody Bowen. We are joined now by Nick Vora, Union County Emergency Services Coordinator and SAR Coordinator.
Nice.
How's it going?
It's going great. Thanks for having me on, and thank you, Sheriff, for inviting me to join you this evening.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate having you here. Each time we do this, we like to have a guest and somebody different in the community that might not always get the opportunity to get in front of the camera and smile big. And
yeah, it's a little, the first time or the first few times, it's a little overwhelming, but just relax. I basically let Cody drive this part of the show because he knows what kind of questions that he's gonna ask you. And if we get any questions from the public, which is your guys' job during this show, I'll kind of transfer them over and we'll ask you what's going on. Cody, go ahead. Let's kind of talk about the.
I think, I didn't know what the Union County Emergency Services was until I became in law enforcement, got involved with it. And former manager was J.B. Brock. And, the amount of things that the emergency manager's in on is I'm going to tell you just about everything. There's not something that Nick's not involved in that doesn't tie into that. It's a county position. And Nick, tell us what you do as far as Union County Emergency Services Manager goes.
So the way I like to describe my job to people is, like Sheriff Bowen said, I do a lot of different things, but to succinctly put it, is my job is to facilitate the success of all of the frontline agencies. So sheriff's deputies, police officers, firefighters, EMS, staff at the hospital, whether it's a typical day-to-day, so to speak, emergency or a large-scale disaster, making sure that there's appropriate plans in place, communication systems that are operable, and to basically for them to be successful at their jobs. So kind of working behind the scenes before an incident as well as assisting them during an actual incident response.
Nice. Who's your liaison commissioner-wise?
Commissioner Scarfo.
That's what I thought. We have him on quarterly, roughly, on the morning show, and he's talked about some of the training that you guys did out at the gas station. Tell me a little bit about that.
So I'm trying to think as far as
the mass event.
Yes, the mass.
The last one that we had.
Yeah, the mass event training.
Oh yeah. So we did this past spring. We did almost a year ago now, we did a Cascadia exercise so simulating an earthquake. Basically, the Cascadia fault zone largely would drastically affect Western Oregon, but we would see ripple effects, no pun intended, out here in Eastern Oregon. So we had, I don't remember the exact number of agencies, but it was, I believe, over 20 agencies that participated in the exercise. It lasted for 2 days, where we were simulating basically how Union County, the sheriff's office, as well as all the other agencies, would respond to the different things that would happen related to fuel shortages, evacuees from other areas, having aircraft at the airport, other logistics, local landslides, working with Public Works, Oregon Department of Transportation. Also, we simulated some events that would require EMS and fire department response. So it was really great to see how well all the agencies in Union County were able to just seamlessly drop in and work together. And I think a lot goes to that speaks a lot to the relationships that agencies have between really all of our emergency response organizations within law enforcement, fire, EMS, transportation, that everybody, for the most part, is on a first-name basis and a positive first-name basis with each other, where we all work as a team.
That's awesome.
And that makes my job really easy.
All right, so before we continue with Cody and you, let's backpedal a little bit. Tell me a little bit about you. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
So I'm originally from Minnesota, and
Hey.
He's always got something to say.
So yeah, my family moved out to Bend when I was 12, and I ended up working for the federal government for 10 years in rangeland management. And I worked with private landowners on conservation projects, forest management, rangeland management, fire management. And during that time, I started volunteering. Initially with the sheriff's office was first thing as a search and rescue volunteer. That was my foot in the door to emergency services. And from there, went into volunteer firefighting and just started taking on a little bit more, becoming a reserve deputy with the sheriff's office. And really, that was a passion, just emergency services in general that I had. And an opportunity presented itself when the former emergency manager moved on to a different position that I was able to get the job as emergency manager here in Union County, and I love it every day.
What brought you here? EOU?
Yeah, actually the program. The OSU agriculture program at EOU is where I did the last year of my schooling, or actually last 2 years, and then went from there and worked for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
Very cool. So, keeping it clear with Cody Bowen, this is a transparent show. Ask some questions. Here's one right here. Coming in, how will they communicate with news agencies such as us during an event?
So the county has a public information officer that works in the Department of Emergency Services as well as the commissioners, and her role in an emergency is substantially to communicate with the media to make sure that we are getting the most timely and current information out so that you, as our partner, can help us disseminate that to the community.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
we train on that all the time, and we also have different methods to, in a critical emergency, communicate with the public in the form of mass notifications, what some people call like reverse 911. Type notifications.
Yeah, kind of like an Amber Alert, but
similar
for an emergency situation. Cody, the search and rescue team, let's kind of dive into that a little bit. Let's explain kind of what takes place, what they do in essence.
So some folk, and I didn't know this either, but the sheriff's office, the role of the sheriff is to provide jail services, civil services, and search and rescue. Those are the three things that are mandatory to have to provide for the county. Search and rescue is something that is filled up 99.9% of all volunteers. It's all volunteers that come in, and people with different and very special different tasks, skills. It is something that we, from canines to snowmobiles to ATVs to ropes to boat rescues to, drone. I mean, everything. Every scope of emergency rescue type situations, and not just always rescue, but I mean, it could be helping out with big events. All kinds of stuff. So it's made up solely of volunteers. We just actually did a couple interviews about an hour ago for two young men that are interested in search and rescue, and just listen to some of their backgrounds. There's a young man that's attending college up here. He's an Eagle Scout, who loves the outdoors. Has some skills and wants to be a part of search and rescue. Wants to be a part of the dog team. He's intrigued by the dogs. So it's an outlet for some folks to gain some more skills, some more experience, and it's a huge asset to us in the county, just having all these volunteers that are so willing to go. I mean, the volunteer end of things, it's a thankless job, and I don't know, when we get a phone call, when we get something, I don't know how many people call in and are just jumping to go help, for free, to risk their lives, to go out in the cold, to go get somebody off the mountain, to help with whatever that looks like. It's amazing. I love our search and rescue group.
They might be doing it for free monetarily,
sure,
but the kickback for somebody that does something like that is it's all inside.
It's all right here.
Yeah, it's absolutely. All 100%.
Yeah, for sure.
Nick, what's your like when you decided you were going to get involved in search and rescue? What was the catalyst? What pulled you into it?
So it sounds really cliche, but the desire to help people, and also search and rescue a lot, just being able to do stuff outside, and every call is different. There's no two that are the same. Similar attraction to becoming a volunteer firefighter. It's a great way where I already had a job, but I had a real interest in those emergency response type functions. So it was just a great way to be able to become a part of the community while still having the career that I had.
You had any close calls? Anything scary? Well, you're out there search and rescue. You're on a mountain or somebody, in the river, or anything that like made the hair stand up.
So, I'm sure at the time there's some where there's nothing that just pops into my mind at the moment right now. But yeah, every call, every once in a while, there's something where you're like, wow, I'm really glad that worked out the way it did, because certainly things could go another way. But we're very safety conscious, and that's one of the things why we train as much as we do. We, across the board, there's anywhere on a given year between 3 and 5 hours of training that we do for every hour that we spend on an actual mission. as far as man hours go. So we put a huge emphasis on training, and that really goes, I think, to our volunteers and just the overall ethics and drive of the sheriff's office is, I think, from an excellence of service standpoint, that we train as much as we can, and I think props go to the volunteers.
You call them missions?
SAR missions, yeah.
SAR missions, I like that.
Yeah.
I never knew that that's what it was called. I would just
And
think
it'll blow your mind. You think if there's just 4 or 5 people walking out there on a trail to go find somebody, and from start to finish, I mean, the amount of just getting that first initial call out to everybody, getting everybody to respond, getting people coordinated. I've called him multiple times, and I hear sirens in the background, the radio going, another phone working, and he's like, "Hey, Sheriff, what's going on?" I'm like, "What do you got?"
What do you got?
And he just starts rattling off. Well, I got such and such coming here, such and such coming here. Somebody's already gone to the SAR tread. They got the 4-wheeler. We got instant command going. I mean, it's an amazing job that he does, and all of our volunteers to be able to risk their lives for nothing other than just doing what they feel is the right thing to do and helping people. So.
Nice. Keeping it clear with Cody Bowen. Transparency. Ask questions. Otherwise, I'm going to have to ask them all night, and mine will probably be more boring than yours. So kind of talk us through a call. You get a call as the head of the SAR team. What are you doing? You're taking a call. What's Nick doing at that time?
So there's fundamentally 2 different routes that a call could potentially take. Searches versus rescues are run a little bit different. Rescue, typically, if it's a urgent emergency at a known location. Right. So that half of our problem, knowing where to go, is already done. That's taken care of for us. Now, a search, if we don't, sometimes it's a person was out hunting, hiking, they didn't come home. We may not know where they went hunting,
or
hiking.
Even close, right?
Yeah, or are they even in Union County? So with searches, there's often a much more deliberate approach from the investigation standpoint initially, so to make sure that we purposefully deploy our resources and that we don't send a bunch of people running this way and then, come back, we need you actually to go over here or there. So oftentimes there's a lot of interviews, cell phone forensics, things like that, that we use to help guide our direction from there with a search. Now, a rescue, and I think one thing that's interesting to know is in past years, there was much more of a balance between searches and rescues. With the increase in cell phone coverage, technology, satellite communicators, inReaches, spot devices, the amount of searches we have has really gone down. And the ability for people to access areas they couldn't before has increased, so we have a lot more rescues. People doing things maybe a little bit beyond their capabilities or experience and getting into trouble. So the incidence of rescues has gone up a lot. So the way we respond to a rescue is initially that call usually comes in via 911, explaining something happened. Oftentimes there's a medical component to that. So I'll immediately start communicating with the EMS responders that are going to that call. And then our job is really, just like emergency service, to facilitate the success of other agencies. SAR at that point with an injured person, we're to facilitate medical care getting to them and them getting out to definitive medical care at a hospital as soon as possible.
Right.
So we'll communicate amongst each other. I will notify Lieutenant Woodward, Sheriff Bowen, let them know that we have something going on so that they can be aware of it. And then I'll direct the responders that we have. I'll send out a notification. It'll activate people's phones. They can indicate if they're available, and then I start to give assignments. So based on people's location, I may direct them to go to the scene and get some initial information. I may direct them to go to our SAR equipment building and get some equipment to deploy with. And that's all very situationally dependent on kind of who does what. We also have people that I might send into town to go and initially start doing some computer tasks, make some maps, and run communications, things like that.
Right. Yeah. That's. I mean, it probably doesn't seem like a lot to the normal person, but it's got to be. I mean, it's a huge task.
There's a lot of moving parts with search and rescue, and that's really what makes it a lot of fun, is that no two calls are the same, and there's always a lot to do. And really with search and rescue, we have a job for everyone. We're really blessed to have just an amazing group of volunteers that, as the sheriff mentioned, give their heart and souls to what we do. And there's some people who they typically are not a field responder. They might do that logistical coordination for us, that to be going, getting sandwiches, pizza, just running a radio from our emergency operations center. And then we have some people who are really incredibly skilled hard chargers that I can trust to go send down a trail on a SAR team, and that they have the skills and confidence to really deal with whatever situation they encounter.
So I would imagine one of the biggest part of your job is just knowing your people and what their skills and weaknesses are.
Yeah, and one thing with our SAR team, with the benefit of training together all the time, we all know each other. We're comfortable with each other as far as being able to put two people on a team. They know exactly what each other are capable of and can trust each other to accomplish whatever their assignment is.
Nice. What's your biggest challenge?
I'd say our biggest challenge is that everybody has competing demands for time. In the perfect world, we would have 40 career SAR people that we could just train all day, every day,
Right.
but that's completely unrealistic. So with volunteers, we have to accommodate their schedules as much as possible. And it's a very achievable challenge. We make it work, but there's lots of nights and weekends, so people have to find that balance of, we definitely, as the sheriff's office, one of his values is family and putting that first. And so acknowledging that, find ways to accommodate people's need to maintain their family life while also getting in the training and responding to missions.
All right, let's go down a different road real fast. You're also a volunteer deputy, right?
Yes.
With Union County.
Yeah, so through the sheriff's office, I wear a few hats, and one of those is that I help out on the patrol side as well.
So you just, if they need somebody, explain that a little bit.
So I started in 2016, and started with the sheriff's office reserve program then, and so largely the reserves is just as the name implies, helping out the full-time staff with things, especially like rodeos, other details that the sheriff's office does where we need some extra staff for. And I would spend a lot of time riding with the patrol staff, gaining skills, getting experience, getting all the insight from them, as well as helping them out. There's times several years ago when we would just have one deputy on some shifts covering the county. So I would ride with them so that their cover deputy was sitting 2 feet away from them, and just loved it there. And we just have a really great group of guys with the sheriff's office. So I'll still help out with a lot of special events, ride with deputies as much as I can, and just kind of contribute and help out the cause as much as possible.
You seem like a busy dude.
I am.
Yeah.
Busiest dude I know.
Cody, let's talk about, ask let's get a little bit of information about SAR from you.
If I had all the time in the world and wasn't worried about, a monthly paycheck, search and rescue is someplace that I would be all the time, because just like you said, they're always training. They're always doing something fun, something cool, riding snowmobiles, ATV training, ropes training, river rescue training. They're just always doing something because they're preparing for, they don't know what they're preparing for. They're preparing for everything and waiting for that moment to come. And, this job would not be, it would not be doable without people like Nick, without the volunteers that help out with search and rescue. I mentioned, when I was campaigning, that I was going to surround myself with good people, because I don't have all the answers. I don't have all the training that he does in certain areas. And in order for this office to be successful, in order for search and rescue to be successful, it takes people like this in those positions that truly love what they're doing passionate about it, and keep that program going. So I couldn't do this job without him doing his job, and it's I'm very thankful for that.
We got a question. Let's see here, Nick. Jay Britton wants to know, what was the longest search or rescue? Like a day, 2 days, a week?
Well, the most longest length of time is we had a person go missing in January. It was either late January, early February in Umatilla County, and we were helping them out as mutual aid on that incident. And because of snow conditions and everything, we'd have to go a little bit more into that incident, explaining all the details. But
Right.
we ultimately did not recover that person until May when the snow melted.
Wow.
So that's probably now we weren't searching every day between January and May.
Right?
But the one longest search where we had field operations occurring daily, basically continuously, would be a mutual aid incident we had to Baker County several years ago. And that was, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, 7 days of continuous search operations.
Wow. 7 days, that becomes quite an endeavor at that point.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of hours, and I think it really goes speaking to our volunteers. And that ran an entire week. They used their annual vacation time that they could otherwise use to go on a vacation,
Right.
and instead they were slogging through snow literally up and down mountains. And so I really cannot speak highly enough of the volunteers that we have. And also one thing that I would really be remiss to not say is the support that we get from Sheriff Bowen, that he is being pulled in a ton of different directions all the time, but anytime I call him, approach him with something that SAR needs, it's like, what can I do for you? How can I help you with what you need? So I think there's huge props to that level of leadership, and because I would never really want his job ever to see all the things that he has to do.
He can keep it.
and being able to, his willingness to pause as I see his phone blowing up, and he's like, "No, Nick, what can I do for you right now?"
You want to know something crazy about him, though? As much as his phone blows up, he won't let it go more than 4 hours before he calls you back or texts you, even if he's in a meeting. If his day is just completely jammed, I can call him and I'll get a text. I'm in a meeting, and I'll get a phone call within a couple hours. Always. It's crazy. If I put you on the hot seat right now, would you be able to name all the volunteers?
So, yes, I could.
Yeah.
I'm not sure you want to go through the torture of listening to me try to remember everybody. We have about 40 volunteers.
Oh, that's okay. So that's more than I
on our
thought.
SAR team. And so trying to, just like if you ask me to name all 50 states, yeah, I know the states, but it'd be a rough go.
I thought it was less than that. We won't go there. Because that would be painful.
But it's 40 volunteers just through life circumstances. We end up usually having about 4 people that end up having to leave the team every year, and we generally get about, and that's average, but we have about that much turnover.
Yeah, that's not bad. 4 out of 40, that's what, 1%? Or is that 10%?
10%.
That's 10%. Yeah, 10, yeah.
Don't ask me
me
numbers.
to do math on the fly.
1% plus or minus 9. That works out.
So with the SAR team, Cody, like how much time? I mean, like resources and time-wise, what are they? What piece of the pie are they?
Well, like I said, it's one of those 3 mandatory things that have to be facilitated by my office. So it's up on the list. It has to be done. As far as time that I put into it, as far as out of say my daily schedule, not nearly enough. That's why I have very good people underneath me. Lieutenant Woodward is the heads up the search and rescue next to Nick, and he's the responsible one for it on my end in my office, ultimately reporting to me. I don't make all the meetings. I tell you what, I tried to go out on a lot of calls, and then he took me on one that absolutely just about killed me. He's like, it's 3 miles tops. 3 miles, we're gonna hike back into the Eagle Caps, we're gonna find this guy, he got bucked off a horse, there's another horse running around, so I'm thinking, I can do this. I'm going to ride that other horse out when they pack him out, right? We get in there, it's a couple more miles. It'd been like 4 miles in and 4 miles out. And then we got in there and met the guy on the horse, and I picked up a lead rope, I picked up a bridle, I got some reins in my hands. I'm like, I'm gonna find this horse. I can ride this horse out of here. I'm not walking out of this place again. Because halfway in, I mean, I'm dead tired, right? Done, right? I'm thinking, what am I doing? I'm trying to lead from the front. I'm trying to set an example, be a servant leader, and I'm just kicking myself because this is not what I signed up for, right? But I absolutely loved every minute of it, listening to him on the radio and the mapping and talking with Lifelight and everything. It was one of the best experiences ever. And we got about halfway in, and we met the guy coming out, and he's like, yeah, the horse is already at the trailer, man. Here's your stuff back. So
the horse went back.
The horse went back, yeah. So I was pretty disappointed in that. But it, search and rescue is something that I'm intrigued by and very appreciative of the people that we have in there.
Nice. Keeping it clear with Cody Bowen. Nick, I'm going to ask you one more question, and then we're going to take a break, and Cody and I will be back to close this thing up. The question would be, how do you get involved with search and rescue? And then B, how do people donate? Like, where can they go to help you guys out?
So thanks for asking, because search and rescue being all volunteer, we rely on people who are interested, who have that desire to help, reaching out and getting an application at the sheriff's office. So go to the front desk at the sheriff's office, ask for a search and rescue application, fill it out, bring it back, and as Sheriff mentioned, just this afternoon we interviewed 2 applicants. And then we have a new member training academy that we do every year. It's a regional academy. Initially, when I first started, every county did their own training program. But on mutual aid incidents, we realized that not everybody was necessarily playing on the exact same sheet of music. So we ended up forming a regional training program for new members. So the counties have the option to send their people to the academy. We do it in La Grande every year. And so it's 2 full weekends of like our basic drinking from the fire hose, so to speak, getting as much information as possible for people to be as valuable to their teams. And then we do training within our unit after that for people to maintain their certifications. So people have any questions, they can contact the sheriff's office. I'm more than happy to, if they leave a number, I'll call them back, chat about it. They can come up. Talk to us. I can show them our equipment, and so that's how someone gets involved. And as I mentioned, we have a job for everybody. If you want to, kind of pretty much no matter how you want to contribute. And then from the financial standpoint, SAR does within the sheriff's office. There's an embedded nonprofit association with 501c3 status, so donations are tax deductible. And again, people can just contact the sheriff's office for information on that. And the sheriff's office could accept a donation, and we have a mailbox for the nonprofit there that we can get to that board.
Can they access this application online, or do you have to?
So yes, actually, on the sheriff's office website, I believe it's under volunteer opportunities on the page. There's a link to a PDF, fillable PDF of a search and rescue application.
Sweet. Is there any certain skill set that you're lacking that you really need right now?
The way I look at it is we can train people. What we look for is people with a desire to help their community and drive to be involved. And woods skills, orienteering, if people, specialized skills like rope rescue, snowmobiles, all those technical specialties, if someone already has those, that's awesome, and that's an incredible resource to us. Even something as simple as working on equipment. If someone likes to turn wrenches, we have a lot of motors, a lot of engines that need maintenance. And so, like I said, there's a job for everybody, and we'll train people to the level that they're comfortable, and mainly just desire to help and be part of a team.
Nice. Well, Nick, Sheriff Bowen and myself, we appreciate you coming on and kind of giving us the picture of what SAR is about and the Union County Emergency what's services?
Union County Emergency Services.
I keep wanting to make it more like I feel like it should be. We appreciate it, man, and it's your jobs. I mean, it seems like you're very threaded into everything Union County.
It's the best job in the world, and I love it. And so, yeah, thanks for letting me be on the show, and thank you, Sheriff.
Absolutely.
Definitely can't say enough about, as far as Sheriff Bowen's leadership and being a resource for really everything that we've ever needed and asked for with search and rescue. So,
Awesome.
really appreciate it.
Keeping it clear with Cody Bowen, brought to you by Loveland Safe Ride. We'll be back in just a minute.
Thanks, buddy.
Want to keep yourself informed with relevant news and events in Eastern Oregon but don't have much time on your hands? Well, here on EO Alive, we pay attention to what's happening in Eastern Oregon and deliver the news in 2 minutes or less on our evening news roundup. You can expect to get your news delivered right to your Facebook and Instagram feed every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6 p.m. We'll keep you in tune with Eastern Oregon, and you can count on that. EO Alive, your connection to Eastern Oregon, now on Roku. Here in Eastern Oregon, we're blessed to live in such a wonderful area, and though it may seem mild-mannered, there's actually quite a lot that goes on in this area. And apparently, there's 2 dinguses who happen to be here that are actually crazy enough to get up at the crack of dawn to talk about it. Tune into AM Live on EOA with Brent and Doddsy, featuring special guests, weather, sports, news, and more, every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 a.m., only on EO Alive, your connection to Eastern Oregon, now on Roku.
Welcome back. Keeping it clear with Cody Bowen, brought to you by Loveland Safe Ride. We're going to stay live for a few more minutes, and hopefully we get a few questions here. Otherwise, Cody and I are just going to kind of go back and forth. Cody, what's your biggest challenge going on right now? Outside of the normal stuff, is there anything like that's just like kind of an underlier right now?
I hate to say, what's normal now, but mental health crisis and addiction, that's normal now, but that's still one of the biggest struggles in our county right now. Treatment facilities to, what do we do with these folks? How do we get them help? That's probably our biggest struggle that law enforcement across the board is facing right now. Yeah.
Well, and then this show's about transparency, and most of the people that are watching this probably watched the city council meeting last night. So let's just dive into that a little bit.
Yeah. Part of me trying to establish this new law enforcement facility, the only way that I saw it could be done was with a partnership with the mental health here in LeGrand, with LeGrand Police Department, with Juvenile Department, Parole and Probation. This is a big ask, and this is something that is will benefit and affect the county, the whole county as a whole. Right. So I asked those partners, those stakeholders, to be a part of that process when I reached out. When we got the RFPs back, I had folks from different entities come and score those and pick those. And unanimously, they picked one group called the McKinsey Group out of.
So hang on, let's backtrack just a second. Let me lay a little foundation. What he's talking about right now is the new facility.
Right.
And the idea was that the police department, CHD, the county sheriff, and the jail were all going to be put in funds to build one central location, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So
So that's where we're at. Yeah. So the partnerships needed to be there. We see these on different. Each individual that we come into contact, whether they're on the street in a mental health crisis or an addiction crisis, law enforcement's involved, mental health is involved. The hospital's involved, and it just drains resources like no other. So trying to, number one, offer something to these folks rather than a jail cell, because that's not where they belong. They're suffering, they need help, they need counseling, they need whatever that looks like. Being in the jail is not the answer, but that's the only place we have in Union County to put people. We'll put them in the hospital for a while, but they only have one room. There's only so much they can do, and so. Just trying to find something, and that was my idea behind having CHD on board with the stabilization unit. Give us some place that we can put these folks other than in jail while they sober up, while they get through that crisis, and then we can get them the treatment and the place they need to be. So, long story short, I've been working on that since I've been in office. That was one of the things that I first took on, and. Last night at the council meeting, I wanted to bring awareness to folks in there. I felt like that the efforts that I had been putting forth hadn't quite been getting to the council and the mayor. So I went in there, unbeknownst to, I didn't even talk to the chief about it before I went in there. And I said, hey, this is stuff that I want to talk about, stuff that concerns me, and I'm just going to use the public comment time to talk to these guys. I didn't want to be on the agenda. I didn't want anybody to know I was coming. I just wanted it raw up front in your face, and you know, I went in there and I just explained to them from start to finish where I've been at with this, you know, as far as funding, the lack of funding to begin with, and then it rolled into the lack of partnership, you know, between myself and the city of LeGrand. And I felt like I needed to explain to the council members exactly where I was at and where I was coming from. The disappointing thing to me is, you know, a lot of the counselors didn't really have much of an idea of what I was talking about. And I've been working on this for 2 years.
Right. We've talked about it on this show.
Yeah, we've talked about it on the show. And to no fault of Chief Bell at all. He's been right there with me. You know, we've been discussing this over and over and over again. But I just got the feeling from, you know, the city administrator that they were wanting to go a different direction. And they took some steps that I felt... it was frustrating to me because I came to the point of I want to get our current facility assessed. I want to know exactly, educate me on is our facility really this bad? Do we really need more room, or are we just not managing it correctly? Do we have enough room to encompass or to incorporate or to house all the inmates that we take in on a monthly, you know, yearly basis? Our jail, you know, is it safe enough for the employees to work there? You know, is the asbestos, is the fire system, is there something that, you know, that I just want to make sure that I had all the facts. So I attempted to hire McKinsey to come do that and assess the police department, the dispatch, juvenile, parole and probation, and my office in the jail, and just tell us, you know, what do we need as a group? Does this building work? Can we maximize our funds? You know, put a limit on how much we affect the taxpayers, and reconfigure this building. Can we stay right here at this location? Or no, we can't do that, and we have to go someplace else. So my idea with that was to bring that in and just educate myself, and then that way I could educate the public, and you know, have some you know, some legs to stand on. If I'm going to go out there and ask for money, I better have a damn good reason of why I'm doing it, because I don't want to pay more taxes. You know, everybody's taxed out. Inflation, fuel, I have a really hard time swallowing the fact that I'm going to have to go to the taxpayers and say, I need money. You know, but that's the one thing that's going to get this accomplished. And I think if I can explain why, give everybody the understanding and the why we need this, not want it, but why do we need this, then I think it's a win-win situation. So.
Right.
But yeah, so my idea behind going to the city council last night was just to raise awareness with the council members, the mayor, make sure that they understood exactly the process that we'd been going through, give them all the paperwork from the last 2 years, which they did not have. Some of them had never seen what I had just given them, and to say, hey, you know, I want your support. I want us to be a team. You know, Gary and I work great as a team. You know, and as I said, as individuals, you know, we work great, but as a team, we can work so much better for this community as a whole, because the addiction and law enforcement and police services is not just a LeGrand problem. No. You know, we're in the city constantly assisting the city. They're assisting us whenever we ask at a drop of a hat. They're helping us wherever we are, along with OSP. It's a joint effort. So for us to be separated and have, you know, a building over here and a building over here, it just doesn't make sense to me, especially when it comes to me. I'm a taxpayer in LeGrand. I don't want to pay for just a new law enforcement building for the city of LeGrand when, you know, honestly, do they really need it? I don't know. I don't have that answer. But I can tell you that if I'm paying a little bit extra taxes for addiction services, for mental health, for jail, for law enforcement, for really the homelessness, for the problems in our community as a whole, I'm going to be more apt to chip into something like that. But number one, I have to understand it. Why am I giving this money to somebody? You know, so that's kind of my goal, is to educate everybody, and that was the idea of you know bringing in people. You know, we bring in the grand jury tours, and you know. The 12 jurors come through and walk them through the jail. And every single one of those reports that they give goes to our commissioner's office. And every single one of them across the board is, this place is unsafe, this place is not adequate for what's in here, it needs help.
Yeah, so, well, we've shown it right here on the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we've shown the pictures of, you know, just oldness, basically.
Oldness.
Is that the best word for it? Oldness and just kind of breaking down.
Yeah. Yeah, we've just outgrown it as a whole. As a law enforcement entity, we've outgrown it. And, you know, it takes teamwork to to achieve that goal, and I just felt like part of the team kind of faded off behind me and went to go do their own thing, and that well, I flat told them. I said, "This you won't achieve this without us working together." So because I don't believe it will, and if LeGrand were to, build a nice new building downtown, with urban renewal funds or whatever they're looking to get this funding from, that it doesn't solve the problem. It might look great, it might make downtown look good, and you might have law enforcement services closer to right here on Adams, but you're taken away from up there on the hill by the schools. So I don't understand that.
I don't want a police department downtown.
I darn sure don't want a jail downtown. I'm not looking at that. So, but part of that ask was I asked to keep the new facility, if needed, within the LeGrand city limits. So, we could house, we could partner, we could share, so they'd still be in the city limits, but maybe give us better access to some of the points in the county. So, but yeah, I just really want to continue the teamwork, and I just want to make sure that everybody knows what's going on, and we're clear and we're transparent from step one until whatever the end looks like. I want people to know, and I want everybody to know. So.
Cody Vela says, we can make it happen. Let's start raising funds.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
It's a lot of funds.
I just need to know what we're doing first. I need to know if we are.
Yeah, if we're
staying where we're at
with the city, or if we're
or if we're going separate, or
And it seems like that line's been kind of blurred
up until about 2 weeks ago, it wasn't.
Yeah.
I thought everybody was on the same page and we were all going to do this together. And then it got a little blurry over the last few days, but I think it's totally salvageable. And like I said, I think if anybody can make it work, if they want to. The chief and I can work together great as a team.
Absolutely.
So it's just the other entities.
So we're going to go about 5 more minutes here on Keeping It Clear with Cody Bowen, brought to you by Loveland Safe Ride. This is your guys' last chance to ask some questions. Ask some questions. He's going to answer them. That's why he's here. In the meantime, Cody, let's talk about Cody. How are you?
Cody's good.
Good.
Had some struggles over the last, my father passed away right before Christmas.
Yeah.
That was the first time in my life that I've lost somebody that was, close to me. So that was a learning experience. I leaned heavily on my wife because she's had quite a bit of trauma in her life. So, she was there for me.
I think you got a good one there.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't deserve her.
Yeah, dude,
yeah.
you
I don't deserve
outkicked
her
your
at all.
coverage.
Yeah. I fooled her one day and then just held on with all I had, man.
Put all the claws in,
Yes.
I'm going nowhere.
Yeah, exactly. But very thankful for her. She's my rock. Even when it came to, going and talking in front of the city council, I struggled with that. I didn't want to upset anybody. And I sure didn't want to risk damaging any type of working relationship or friendship that I have.
Which that's a tough situation to be in where you were last night.
It was, I wadded it up, I threw it away. I wrote down some talking points. I wadded it up, I threw it away, I pulled it out, I rewrote it. I really focused on trying to be as respectful as possible, but not let, those of you that know me and me being in this position, I'll tell you what's on my mind, and I sometimes speak before I think, and that has consequences. And that affects folks in ways that I never realized my words would affect somebody. And so I've learned over time I'm still no politician, and I don't do anything PC. I try and do what's right, and I speak what's on my mind. But now I guess I do a little bit more research, so I know exactly, I understand what I'm saying to believe is right. Then I'll approach it a little bit differently. I've grown up a little bit, if you will. It's only, I didn't know how much more growing I could do. I'm still a child. I'll give you, I'm still immature. I like to laugh. I like to have a good time. And I'll be the first one to crack a joke in a room. Yeah. But I've learned to be a little bit more delicate in certain situations. So.
Well, and one of the other things is I've taken classes on how to talk to people in a authoritarian role.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that even outside of just your authority, your size too.
Sure.
People don't realize that. Sure. One of the things that I learned in these classes that I've taken is people our size. They say you need to sit down when you're talking to people because you're less intimidating.
Sure.
And that's kind of neither here nor there, but it does play a role in communicating with
Absolutely.
people. It's
Yeah.
communication when you're our size is hard.
For sure. Yeah, when I was school resource officer, I mean, there was times I'd be laying down on the ground to get eye to eye with the kids,
Absolutely.
on my knees, reading books, whatever that looks like, just bringing it down and getting on their level, so they're not looking up at you in such a commanding situation,
Right.
But either way, yeah, it's Cody's good. We've got I've got a new grandbaby.
Yeah.
I say new, but she's going to be a year old here in
Pretty soon, huh?
a few
Already.
months, yeah.
Wow.
So. It's my daughter's down at OSU. My other daughter's here working for the dentist office there on 4th Street, and things are good. Things are really good.
What about softball? Are you coaching?
Man,
Are you committed or?
I cried. I stepped away from the coaching.
You did?
program. I did. Yeah. Yeah, I stepped away from
That's
the girls softball. Yeah, it was real tough, but
That's a lot of responsibility, though.
it is a lot of responsibility. And with Kinsey being down in college and the new grandbaby, I really, I don't spend as much time with her as I want to by any means, and I want to try and be available and go see Kinsey's games and be available for my wife and my other daughter and my son and just kind of.
There's only so many
There's
hours
only
in
so
a
much
day.
I can spread around. Yeah. But I tell you what, softball was a hard thing to walk away from, man. I'm still down there. I'm still involved. We're working on the dugouts now in Community Field. We're getting that going. Doug Strand and Walt Anderson. Walt Anderson's the new coach. He was my assistant last year.
Walt got hired.
Yeah, Walt took the job there.
Okay.
And I believe he's got some really good people to help him out as well. So
They don't really communicate these things real well. You'd think
No.
the person that covers sports the most in
Right.
Union County would probably know that we had a new softball, but I had no idea.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
clue.
That just happened here not too long ago. He got the job on that. But yeah, it's it's a hard thing to walk away from. But I know it's in good hands, and I'll still be a part of it, and I'll still be down there cheering the girls on when I can. And
Sweet.
yeah.
Anything you want to, end with? We'll let Cody end this. You guys, if you have any questions right now, pop it in there, and I'll give the stage to Cody right now.
Yeah, I want to try and remind people that there's no questions that are off limits to me. If you have a question, give me a call, write me a letter, whatever that looks like. Stop by the office. I'm an open book, and I will, like this stuff that we have going on now as far as the the RFP that we sent out and the project ideas and thoughts. If you want to know anything about that, if you want to be a part of that, man, I please come and talk to me. Make a phone call. Stop by. If there's anything that you're interested in the sheriff's office, even budgeting wise, if you want to know where we're at on the budget line or whatnot, I'm an open book. So if you have concerns or want to know where your tax dollars are going, please reach out and talk, because like I said, I try to be as available as possible. I try to return calls. I try to be involved in the community, and excuse me. I just want people to know that I'm extremely approachable, and please do so.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you, Sheriff Bowen. Eastern Oregon, we appreciate you guys for tuning in, keeping it clear with Cody Bowen. We're going to do it again next month. Maybe we'll do the ride along next month and do it on a day with a little more action.
Yeah, good idea.
Let's go chase them. Like, I want to be like the cop. No, I don't. I want to sit in the car. Anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate you. Keeping it clear with Cody Bowen, brought to you by Loveland Safe Ride. Loveland Safe Ride is a great program. If you guys want to donate to them, go to the Loveland Funeral Home website, or contact me, contact Kevin Loveland, contact Beef, and we can help you guys get to that point of where you can help. This program saves lives, and that's just the reality of it.
Absolutely.
Thank you, guys. The talk.